All right, you guys are off and running.
All right, give me a moment here to switch things to different windows. Oh, crumb, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. And now I need to bring Zoom back up. Apparently I need 3 screens. Okay, so there is a slew of legislation on the agenda for tonight. And I think I have the old packet pulled up, so now I have to go through all of that again to get the revised one. Have you taken a look at that one yet, Brian?
I honestly have not to.
I'll
speak frankly.
apologize now for it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
Update the, so the most recent looks like it came out at 2:27 today from you, Mayor Hughes. Is that right?
Yep,
All right.
updated council packet. Okay. There we go. And now pull up my meeting again. Okay. So here we go with well, let's see who's here first. We'll start at our 3:22 Legislative Committee meeting. In attendance is Mayor Hughes, Council President Wolf, Councilperson, I'm not sure because it just says Council President.
That's McNamara.
There we go. And Eric Fisher, Village Planner, for lack of a better title. So let's go down real quick. Is what I want to start with is just looking at all these 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 11 pieces of legislation to read tonight. Some of them are pretty quick and self-explanatory. Starting with 2021-06. Decommissioning one of our police cruisers and selling it. It says here declaring an emergency, but it doesn't say waive readings. Is that correct, Mayor?
So I did what you guys asked me to do on the last one, to do a reading tonight, a reading on the next one, and then pass it as an emergency. We do already have a letter of intent for somebody buying it. It's the same price as the trade-in value. So if we can give it to an agency that needs it, and we have an agency that needs it. So that's the purpose to it. So I didn't want to ask you to waive it all. So we are gonna do a reading, and we wouldn't pass it till April 12th with that, which is like 3 weeks from now, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever.
Yep. Awesome. So,
Mark, just as a point of order, one of the things that I had noticed, and I had meant to mention to you before, is that the requirement is to read legislation by title. And so, like, for example, that what you've been doing is reading what's in the agenda, but the full title of that is a resolution declaring a decommissioned police cruiser as surplus property and authorizing the mayor, blah, blah, to read that whole title. That's my understanding is the legal requirement that be read.
Well, then I will do that.
Yeah, I don't know that it would get us in trouble if we, if somebody really wanted to be a booger, they could probably jam us up if we don't read those.
And here's what I would say, and Brian, where I'm going to agree with that. Currently, I'm the one doing this agenda, so I wouldn't read the agenda if I was you. And I will first be the one to apologize for any typos. These were 90%. Eric did one, and so you get the point. So yes, if there's mistakes, I will make sure that they get fixed. So definitely, I'd read the first part.
And we have had someone else join our meeting as well there. Again, I don't know who it is though.
Village conference room.
I would
I'm
assume
getting
it's Diane.
Oh, hi, that's me. I don't know.
Hi,
Not sure why I put that in there, but I guess I clicked on the wrong Zoom thing. Oh,
That makes sense. You're just logged in from when you host. Okay, our next one. Oh, anyone have any quibbles, questions about the decommissioning and sale of the police cruiser? Okay, our next one is 2021-07, a resolution authorizing the mayor and fiscal officer to enter into contract with A&J Asphalt to replace asphalt path in front of the lake. Long and short of this is, we all know the path it's talking about there next to the lake at a cost not to include $16,500.
And as you guys know, I typically do about 10% more than what the estimate is. This is one of those that I feel like it is necessary. Just because some of the path may need more rock and gravel, and there could potentially be some trees that need cut. So that is why it is only 14 something. So to be completely transparent, if we need to do that during the meeting, we can absolutely do that. We are in all hopes that it doesn't end up at 16.5, but that's just so I don't have to come back to you guys.
What is six? I'm sorry, what was six? Oh, the trees.
The asphalt.
Oh, the asphalt. Okay.
Yeah.
And
And that's
we
what
are,
that
and we're hoping,
supplementary. Do you, I just as a matter of procedure again, since I'm not on the legislation committee, so I'm listening in, but all of the, I popped in because if all the council people were here, then we could save time if we all listened to all the legislation, read through, because Mark's going to have to do it again in the meeting, read through all of the legislation, and the people who are not attending this meeting might have questions. And so I just didn't know if we wanted to be that redundant. If you do, you do. It is.
Well, and I, have a very open meeting policy on these, that any council member can come and speak for the exact reason of we can get things out of the way now and then not have the meetings go so long at 7.
But you're missing Joe and Tony. So I guess my only point is that the mayor will probably have to repeat herself on some of this, and for the purposes of filling in the 2 missing members right now.
Mhm.
Well, or she could not, explain the 10% overage and only fill that in if there was a question, but that's a whole nother ball of wax, right?
Right, we're relying on that to them.
Well,
We're relying on Tony not to say anything.
right. I mean, in days past, a first reading for something like this would be, this is the first reading of resolution, blah, 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 read the title, move on. Right? That's.
Yeah, generally that's how it's done. And then, but people always have a council person can always step in and say, but I have a comment after any reading. But yes, generally you do the first reading, you move on. If you know there's going to be, especially when there's a work session coming up.
Yeah.
In which case,
All right. Well, back on to the next one here. This is 2021-08. A resolution to authorize and approve the mayor and fiscal officer to sign a contract with Flock Safety to install Flock cameras. Cost not to exceed $6,000. That is, I believe, the license plate monitoring camera things that Chief
Correct.
Delp sent
and
us out
then
about.
just, yeah, and then just to be again transparent for you, for the people that are here. Nobody has really said, yes, we're gonna get these. And Brian, I want to point that out because you're here too. But as you're aware, March 20, we don't have a meeting until April 12th again, and then the 26th. So as this sits, we wouldn't even be able to get it until May 26th. So if I wait till April, it's going to be June before we could even. So if everybody has a vote, I'm bringing it to you, and I think I'm just being blunt about this, and I think you know why I'm doing it. If we don't want to do it, we can table it or take it off. But I would rather get the first readings out, and that's why I did what I did.
I think it's fair just to suggest that this will be a point of conversation at the Saturday work session. And I don't think this needs to go back to safety committee for additional research, because we all kind of said, I mean, it doesn't sound terrible, and we might as well take it to the general council as we think this is a reasonable thing.
We don't
That
have a
was
work
my thought.
session this Saturday, do we?
It's the Saturday before the second Saturday of the month, so it would be the second Monday of April isn't until the 12th, so the 10th would be the work session.
Okay.
And I view it as, if we even have that meeting in the middle of April 12th and April 26th on a Monday, we're gonna have 2 full things. So again, that's why you guys are
Yeah.
seeing so much legislation.
Yeah.
Just to keep us rolling.
All right, moving on to 2021-09, a resolution authorizing the fiscal officer of the village, Minerva Park, to request a certification and estimate of revenue from the Franklin County Auditor's Office for a 3.2 mil 5-year renewal levy and declare an emergency. Is this one where we're also going to not waive future reading, or we'll do it
Correct.
first reading tonight, second
Ex-
reading, you might request that we waive the third reading and pass as an emergency.
So this
And-
one, the intent is to waive the readings and pass it as an emergency so we can get to Franklin County so we can request the certificate. We do have plenty of time, except for the fact that we are told that Franklin County is taking an extreme amount of time getting the certificate back. And then, of course, this is not to put it on the ballot. All this is for is to get the certificate, to bring it back to you, to do 3 more readings, to get it put on the ballot. This is
Yeah,
strictly
this
to
is
get the
just them
certificate.
saying, if you did this, this is how much money it would be, blah, blah, blah. This is just,
Correct.
yep, authorizing them to
This is
send us
legit for nothing.
paperwork.
Yeah.
All right, a resolution authorizing and approving the execution of a contract with Flowline LLC for inspection, cleaning, and video recording of certain storm sewers. And this will also
So-
be a first reading,
And there's
and we
X's in
have
it.
X's for money.
And last time it was $15,000. We expect those before the Saturday work session. And these are things that we have talked about in the streets meeting. Mike had talked
Mhm.
about, we need to get moving on televising the next section. And again, council's gonna be the one to decide it. It should be around 15,000, but that is still to be determined. I didn't want to leave
Yeah.
15 in there and then change it. I'd rather put X's.
You got it. All right, 2021-11, a resolution authorizing and approving the execution of a contract with Resources International, Inc. for a pavement condition assessment of the village streets. This one is also currently XX dollars.
We are also anticipating this one being around $15,000. It was done in 2016 and it was 12,000, I believe. So we're expecting this one to be right around 15,000 as well. We were hoping to get the number before this particular meeting to at least tell you exactly, and there is still that chance that I'll have it before the meeting. But as of right now, that's what the X's are for. We expect all of these to be around 15,000, but again,
And this is
once we
to
determine
go and look
exactly.
at, examine all of our streets, or is
This
this
is
just for what really we
everything
need
in the
at
old section.
Maplewood?
Everything in the old section, everything.
Okay, and that's the first reading. And by the way, anyone, if you guys have any questions or want to debate any of these or bring them, chirp in, please feel free, of course. 2021-12, a resolution authorizing and approving the execution of a contract with Flowline for inspection, cleaning, and video ordering of certain sanitary sewers. Did I just read this one twice?
No, keep going.
No, because this is
The first one was
sanitary, not storm.
You got it.
Similar
Get rid
thing,
of
this is
this.
our first reading here. We still have X's. Do you have any sort of estimation on that?
Same thing. We're anticipating all of them around 15,000 because this one is just the Jordan Road, Park Lane Court. This one, we're going back to exactly where we started in 2016. And we're just gonna do them each section from there. So these are smaller portions than we had done. When we did the sanitary, we actually only divided it into 3 sections. We're planning on going back to the 5 sections. So we anticipate this one again about 15,000.
Was it 5 or 7 sections? I thought
It might be
originally,
7. It might,
the-
we did it in 3.
yeah, my recollection when we did the CMOM or whatever,
Yes.
that the direction in there was to break it into 7 sections.
And honestly, I am totally fine with that now that we have the large repairs under.
Mhm.
I am not, just so you know, I am not pushing for anything more than that. I feel like we've gotten through the first. And to be honest, again, I'm hoping for under 15 for this because this is such a small, these are going to be in much smaller sections.
Mhm.
That sounds good. Sounds
Alright.
more doable in small portions.
Yeah.
And get it on a
Repairs will be a
schedule
lot
so
less
we
too.
don't fall behind.
Well,
Yep,
and the
that is-
hope here is,
That's big.
since we basically had all of the old sanitary stuff relined, I
Yep.
mean, we shouldn't be finding much for a while.
Correct.
That sounds like a plan to me.
All right, next we have 05-2021, an ordinance to amend section 200.1 of the codified ordinances regarding the emblems and symbols of the village. This is our second reading. This is the one that makes, changes to flags or cars or sides of trucks put through council essentially. And that is the second reading on that. We have 06-2021 to make supplemental appropriations for the current expense of the village of Minerva Park for the fiscal year. We are increasing $16,500 on what fund, Mayor Hughes?
Ooh,
'Cause I will be honest, I didn't look up what 1,800-500
no,
was.
you're totally fine. That is the $16,500 for the asphalt.
Hmm.
That's what that's
And
for.
that's going into the whatever street fund that we pull that out of the capital
Correct.
overlay fund.
Yes, so
Okay.
that is exactly what that's for. That's to get that asphalt done.
Awesome, that makes sense. That's why that number looks so familiar.
Exactly. And then if anything changes, and again, the big point of doing one reading at a time on this one is in the event that something changes and we need to add something to it, we'll have
Mhm.
3 readings to do that.
Because we're gonna have time before the asphalt plants are up and fired and going anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, late April, early May,
Oh,
probably.
hey, this one we need to talk about some. Ordinance 14-2020, an ordinance to accept MI development reserve areas and declaring it emergency. And I'm seeing here past our third reading, March 22nd, which is tonight. Is this why Eric is here and putting his camera on? Because he's gonna tell us about the punch out list.
Yes, sir. The ordinance that's before you is to accept all of the MI reserve sections except for Reserve J. Reserve J has, for better or for worse, both the mound and the basketball court all incorporated into the same spot. So you'll actually see ordinance 07-2021, which we're starting on our first reading, to have everyone have time to have our engineers review whatever plan that MI is submitting to them to then make that clear. Otherwise, we are at a point with MI to where they have corrected, obviously, landscaping items. They have put in signs for us. They have repaired items, and they're kind of done. I don't know how else to state that. So we, at this point, need to accept the infrastructure because they're kind of at a point of not going to do anything else for the rest of it, because things could go wrong and they're not going to continue forward on that. So they've done everything up to this point at this stage. We feel comfortable in telling you that the rest of the infrastructure can be accepted at our comfort level, leaving out Reserve J because there is a legitimate issue with the grading plan that needs to be reviewed by our engineer. And that's where we're at with it.
All right, so that could get passed tonight, and then we would pass and declare an emergency 07-2021. An
If I
ordinance.
may.
Oh, wait.
Both items, both legislations are emergency because by the point that you get through third reading, and we're third reading on the 14-2020, it's been tabled. You have to take it off the table, by the way.
Yeah.
It needs to be accepted by emergency, in our opinion, because that prevents any referendum. It's our ground that we want to accept. We don't need any other shenanigans with it, basically.
Gotcha. And then at the same time passing except for this little 1.55 plus or minus acre parcel where the little bumpy hill is over by the woods.
Correct, sir.
All right, then we will figure that one out and then accept that differently. Anyone have any questions or problems with that one? That seems like a big possible wormy worm.
I think this is the first time I've been involved with legislation that has been tabled for this length of time.
Correct.
And crossing calendar years.
Yes.
Is there, I mean, I know that we have in public meetings had 2 readings by title for this legislation, but I feel like that gap, I guess the question to whomever is it appropriate to untable some 5 months later on a third reading and pass it as an emergency?
Yes, sir. I can tell you from experience, it does happen. And fortunately for us, legal counsel will be present at tonight's meeting if you wish to ask them if there's any legal issue where it's inappropriate. In my experience, I've not found that yet. And we have had items that get tabled over a long period of time, taken off the table, discussed, voted on, retabled. it happens. So we're keeping consistently with the numbering system. If Jesse feels differently, definitely pose that question to him.
Yeah. I think that's a question that we should get answered in a public session if we can,
Correct.
because that just feels like a long time for, at least for us, right? I know we've tabled stuff at earlier readings and have sat on it for months. I don't remember any crossing calendar years though. So that's all part of my concern.
And the only thing I'd say to address that sort of, not to get into too big of a debate on this, is when we were tabled it, we said, we'll table this until they finish the list and then pull it out. And that was, however long it took them to take the list. But when we did table it, we announced in public meeting, this is going to go away until they finish their list and then we can pull it out and pass it.
Sure. No, I get all that. It's just a CYA kind of
Mhm.
moment.
I agree. I'd rather, yeah, why not be right instead of wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never thought of an issue like that, but that makes sense. So we should, cross our T's and dot our I's and whatnot.
And if so, then
And-
maybe we can just even at that, make a modification on the record. So
Right.
if we
Well,
decide
my-
that's what we need to do.
My two thoughts would be is we can always add a reading, right? Which might push this out to the,
Well,
to our next regularly, to the 12th, which, I mean, I don't know that that's gonna, we're not gonna squeeze anything else out of MI, but it's not gonna hurt them either.
no,
It's not gonna hurt us, right? Especially since we're passing it as emergency for basically what is this explicitly to eliminate the right of referendum, right? That,
Sure.
an extra reading feels a little bit nicer to me. But again, it's not a hill I'm going to die on. I'm just saying these are options. My other thought would be, is it unpalatable to scrap this ordinance and put it all into the other one? Right? So we could scrap this ordinance and put it all into 07-2021 and accept it all in one fell swoop.
you could do that. We'd have to go through several more readings, and we don't have the first reading. So here's the trick. So we obviously don't do fourth readings, right? So you'd have to take it off the table, right? Because it's the third reading for the 14-2020. You could read it, and then someone could motion to put it back on the table. Right? You get a quasi fourth reading, and then go to the 12th, take it off the table, and accept it on the third reading. If we put it on the first read, we have to adjust the first reading for this one, and we don't have enough time to do that, obviously, before the meeting because we anticipated just yanking this one parcel away because that was a problem parcel to go through the full three readings. So I would just, my 2 cents short of the legal counsel's opinion is you read it, or you take it off the table, you read it, you put it back on the table. If you want to go to a fourth reading, take it off again on the 12th. That's the best way to do it.
I think what you're saying is that it's too substantive a change to 07-2021 for the adjustment to happen on a second reading.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fair enough. So I don't know if anybody else cares about any of that, or if it was just me being weird, but those were thoughts I had.
We can, go ahead, Diane.
Okay, I just, two things. I'm always glad when someone is caring about parliamentary and business procedures. Someone needs to be caring about that because they exist for a reason. On that aside, what I would like to see with this is that I would like to see the punch list back from them with documentation saying done, not doing, done, partially done, whatever. I'd like to see them give us the list back, marked up with what they actually did, what they're not going to do, before I would pass anything. I mean, vote for it.
Understood. So that being the case, if that is the council's 4 votes plus decision, we need to do the quasi third reading retable situation to get us to the 12th.
I feel like that is a neatness and completeness sort of item. If we tabled it with the express permission that we will pass when this punch list is completed and we provided a punch list, I mean, I trust if you're telling me everything that's done is going to get done is done, but I can certainly understand the ask that someone may have to say, hey, can I see that list again? And, you know, have the evidence.
There's no
Do
problem.
we have to go through all of those dances, or can we just I can bring it up tonight when I read legislation, say this is still tabled. We are getting the final list. We plan to pass it at the next meeting on the third reading. Don't have to take it off the table, then move to put it back on the table. Just say it's still out there. Give people a reminder of it, which is all that you're doing when you're doing a reading anyway.
Correct. I agree with you.
And then just pull it out on the 12th.
Yeah, if you want to not go through a procedure like that and you feel, I'm just trying to adjust for comfort with the council. If you are comfortable just talking about it, not actually bringing it off the table, because it is that third reading, by all means, that's perfectly fine to make a public announcement to that point.
Because that's essentially all the reading is anyway, and that way we save ourselves 2 motions.
Correct.
Okay, and unless anyone has a big deal with that, I think I'll do that so that we can get that list.
Yep.
All right. That's all the legislation we're going over tonight, which is pretty big. Go ahead, Mayor Hughes.
Sorry, I was on mute with my dog.
That's okay.
Eric, you might have said this, and I'm just gonna tell you, I can't function with my dog barking. And just so you know, we got to get a fence back behind my house. I'm not joking. I'm about to come unglued. You guys, I will leave my phone, my thing on, so you guys can hear what we deal with 24/7. I've totally lost my train of thought. Did you tell them about the basketball court at all?
No, we hadn't got to that little detail because that's part of the punch list. So the detail of the basketball court is that it's part of the, obviously it's part of the phase, it's part of Reserve J. So it'd be part of that separated out parcel, the 1.55 acres on 07/2021. Now, the basketball court, they agreed to as part of the, the basketball court is part of that reserve. So right now, until it's accepted, it is not village property, obviously. It still falls within the purview of privately owned by MI. MI has agreed via email that they will fix that hoop once we accept it. That is what they stated. So there's no more issues.
And I'm actually going to say that during the next meeting because people are wanting to know why it's not fixed. And I just want people to understand why it's not fixed. If the village decides they want to spend the money and they want to pay for it, then we can do that. But I've had people already start questioning why we haven't fixed it. And I just wanted you guys to know why MI hasn't done it. It's not us. It's not them, because I don't blame them, because they are not going to fix it today. We take it over in 3 weeks and we call them in 2 weeks and tell them it's broken again.
Exactly.
I don't blame them. I don't.
Makes sense to me.
Me too. But I want to be, again, transparent about why we haven't fixed it, because we've even had residents offer to pay for it. But it's MI doing it. So
We should, suggest that, donations to a basketball court maintenance fund would be greatly appreciated though. And,
Eric and I actually talked about that. It's probably been about 2 weeks now. So that's something that we, it's just difficult to go through all of the different things that we're talking about and in some of these different settings. Cause like Diane alluded to, there's only 4 people here, but we had talked about it the other night in planning and zoning, because we are interested in doing something like that. If residents want to donate to something like that, I don't want to call it a parkland fund, but maybe there's other types of balls and things like that people would want to donate. Just, it's a thought, but we've talked about it. So maybe, if somebody's got some ideas of how to put it together and start getting it moving and, whatever, I'm all ears. Or I can, as soon as possible, I can start working on it too.
Well, I think the finance committee would be one committee that could be working on that, because
Yes.
we would have to have some accounting. We'd have to have an account set up to capture the money and keep track of that. So that would be one committee. There's probably other committees that could do it as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Because this is not going to be the first nor the last, or this is definitely not going to be the last time it happens. I think we can all agree on that.
Okay. Anyone else then? That is, I kind of like using these as rundowns, especially on these legislative meeting only night. Anyone else? have something
So
together?
we kind of walked over ordinance 05, 2021. Are we
Okay.
considering that one? That's the logos and symbols.
Yeah,
Are we considering that done as it is, or because I feel like it says what we want it to do, but I don't know that our language is fully optimal.
okay.
You want a second reading at this point? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're on a second reading.
Okay, so what I would suggest is after the second reading, we will take it to legal counsel and see if we can optimize your language.
Yeah. Okay. That's where it's at, because we are not the people who lawyerify legislation well, but I'm pretty sure our lawyer could.
Yes.
I'd be more than happy to forward it to him.
Yeah, please do.
Well, I'll do it tonight after the meeting.
Okay. Then other than that, I think that was all I wanted to talk about until 7. Then I got a long list.
I brought you a long list, so I don't want to say that.
No, I have surprises. It's okay. No, I'm kidding.
All right, Tony Jr.
Oh,
Yes, I said
That's why I said it. I
know.
was
Oh, I'll
just
say it with him.
I was just teasing.
All right, Diane, David, you guys have anything you'd like to add in on, or are we gonna adjourn till 7?
Well, I don't have anything major to contribute. I do like the idea of, like I said, dotting our i's and crossing our t's about the long delay on that tabled motion. Everything else sounds perfectly reasonable to me.
All right. Well then, move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody be well.
All right, see you guys tonight at 7.
Bye.
Yep.